Hey guys, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, back with you. And now we have got, is this part 18 is it now I think? Part 17 or 18 anyway, of this Vulcan build. And I've been away from it for about a day. Today is Monday, went to the show yesterday, and I've been doing some reviews and stuff for you all. So back with this now, we've got to get the green on. As you can see, I've done the black. I think I did that at the end of the last video. And what we've got to do, as I keep saying, I keep repeating, and I can't stress strongly enough, what we need to do here is make sure the masking is down. Don't just come along after it's been left for even half an hour. Don't just come along and start spraying, because you will find areas have lifted. And if we go around here, we will find, as you can see here, let me get something to point with. As you can see here, the tape is lifted in this corner. Okay, you can see that there. So we need to make sure that gets pushed down. Okay, so we're going to roll that down, make sure it's down, and then when we spray, we'll spray away from the tape. You can see areas like here on the wing here where the tape is lifted, so we just literally just push that back down, and you can see that actually the tape is pulled back where it's shrinking. So you know, you've got to be really careful and make sure that you get all the areas down. Anywhere where it comes up in like a wrinkle like here, you can see there where it's come up. If you get the back of a scalpel blade or anything blunt and hard, just rub it over it and just push it back down. And you need to do that literally directly before you paint. So basically, I would go around all this area here, check all this, okay, check all this, and then spray this bit here. And then go around this area here, spray that bit there, go around this area here, spray that bit there. Don't just assume it's all stayed down because you pushed it down 5 minutes ago, because it won't, particularly when it's on matte paint. It doesn't want to stay down. And it's trying to, if you've given it the slightest amount of stretch, like obviously I have here to get around this corner, to get around this radius, it's shrinking back, and you can see that grey is exposed under. So we may have to try and push that back out a bit or something, I don't know, because we're going to end up with a light area and it's going to stick out like a sore thumb, particularly just there on the wing. So I'm going to see if I can push this tape out again, make it go back out. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to be scratching the paint. But there we go, that's a little bit better. So what we could do if we want to is go over that with a bit of black again before we put the green down, but it's not enough to worry about. And I've got a feeling that maybe, with any luck, a roundel's going to go just there. Let's have a look. No, the roundel's over here, so it'll be okay, it'll be fine. So that's it. Right, so now we've got to get this XF81 tamiya, the dark green 2 RAF. I wonder how much different this is to the AK real colours I bought from World War II yesterday. It's darker, isn't it? It's a darker colour. So basically I've got to get this down. I have to thin it back. I'm going to thin it this time with some Mr. Colour leveling thinners, because I'm not worried about the black bleeding through on this because it's a darker colour. And I've also discovered with this grey, because I've used the tamiya thinners, it's quite fragile. It scratches very easily. Whereas this, the black, you can see, you know, it's very tough. Anything you put down Mr. Colour leveling thinners is going to be tougher than anything you use tamiya acrylic thinners on. So I'm going to get my airbrush sorted, get some paint mixed up, get the extractor on. I'll come back, I'll show you a little bit of painting, probably just do a little bit around here or something, and how I get the effect and build the paint up. But you've seen me do it so many times now, I don't want to bore you to death with that. Plus I can just have some music on and merrily go around, because this is going to take probably an hour and a half to paint. So I'll see you in a second after I've got some paint mixed up, and we'll do a little demo. Right, so we've got there now, we've mixed up the paint, like 60% thinners, and we've used the Mr. Colour leveling thinners. When you see people talk about MCLT, that's what it is, Mr. Colour leveling thinners. So, scrap paper, just as a little test piece. And here we can see it's coming out nicely. Nice fine pattern. It's about 18-20 psi as per usual. So as I said, I'm going to go around here and make sure I've pushed down all the edges and make sure it's all down and everything. I've got some tape there on the bottom edge. I'm going to make sure that's not going to get in the way. So keeping the airbrush square up. In fact, actually, I want to spray just away from the tape. So I'm going to be painting like this. Okay. and then I'm going to come over and go like this. So I'm spraying away from the edge, so I'm not going to blow anything. If there's any gaps or anything, I'm not going to blow any paint underneath. And again, we're going to do this very, very blotchy finish and build it up very, very slowly. Now you can hardly see there's green on there, but I can. And sort of paint each panel individually. And note the angle of the airbrush is away from the tape. Okay. You can see now, you can probably see the green coming through now. Probably see the green on there now. I really need to get some better lighting. I really do, because this camera is really showing up my lighting, is how poor it is. And there we go. And I don't know if you can see that there, but I've got a bit of black showing through there, so get rid of that. And what that's doing is it's giving us a nice blotchy finish, and as it dries down it will become more and more apparent. Now you're not really seeing it on the camera like I am, but you see now this is pronouncing it even more. It's making it almost look like it's pre-shaded, but it's not. To my eye it's not like that at all. How weird. And then we've got to make sure we get around the leading edge and just underneath. Okay, we'll probably have to do some touch-ups around that area because the masking tape on the wingtip is peeled. But again, I can go around here now and actually just make sure all this tape is down. And I've got a little area there where you can see it's wrinkled, so we'll just rub that down with a blunt instrument. Make sure it's all gone down, and then once again come in and stay away from the edge of the tape. Go. You can see there we've got the green coming through. So that is basically what we're going to do. And I'm going to finish it, and then I'll come back when it's done and we can start unmasking it. Right, anyway, so as you can see now, she's all done. The green is on there and all blotchy and stuff. You can see that it's all uneven, and you can see black coming through in places and not in others, and that's exactly the kind of look I'm after. Just want to break it up so it doesn't look like a solid green and grey toy. So what I'm going to do now is have another little play with it. So I'm going to pour most of this paint back in the pot, okay? Just leave a tiny bit in here. That's enough in there, just a tiny little drop left at the bottom of there. And then what I'm going to do, put the lid back on that tight, I am going to add literally a drop of yellow, okay, cocktail stick, drip of yellow in there. And then because there's such a small amount of paint, we're going to have to use a brush to mix it in. Over here, mix that in, and as you can see it's just lightened it a touch. Okay, it's just a touch lighter, literally. You can see it here, look on the side, you can see there the difference in the colour. Okay, and I'm also going to very heavily thin it, so I'll take some Mr. Colour Leveler thinners and I'm going to literally make this like water. Here we go. And the drip down the side wasn't intentional. I don't mean me, the drip, I mean the drip of thinners. Get that up. Okay, and then again, grab the brush, wherever that went. it's not. Where'd the brush go? That must be the brush I used. Okay, so use a brush to mix it up. And there we go. Right, so now we've got a slightly lighter, very thin mix. So I'm going to take the cloth, blow the airbrush through to make sure there's no paint left in there. Pour some of this in. Not too much because it's so thin it will splash around easily and come over the side and drip on your model, and that'll ruin your day. And then I'm going to put my finger over the end, blow back through so it mixes up any green paint that was already in there. And then just do a little test and we can get a tiny little... Okay, and what I'm going to do now, I don't think you're going to be able to see this, I'm going to come along the middle of each panel and just lightly go in and just highlight each panel. Now I'm not staying between the masking tape, I'm going over the masking tape. I am just highlighting each panel because what you don't want to do is end up with a nice green frame around your camouflage and just have the middle of the panel. You want the whole panel, when it goes over the edge, you want the whole thing to be faded. It's really artistic effect. It's not at all realistic, but it does break up the surface. And you'll see when I take the masking off, I mean this is so subtle you probably won't even see it on the camera. And if you notice, I'm keeping the airbrush in with all the panels. It's almost like I'm spraying each panel individually. Same up here. And if you notice as well, I'm staying perpendicular to the masking tape just in case there's any areas that have lifted we don't want it to go under. That area there is lifted. There's going to be no doubt areas we're going to have to touch up. On the rudder and on the fin there, across the back. And across here. It's going to be the upper areas that are mainly going to get this sort of effect because they will be bleached by the sun more than the areas sort of down that are vertical, if you like. Okay, so just go over. It's not an art, it's not science, it's just putting paint on to add an effect. This would be much better demonstrated on something like a World War II bomber, like a Lancaster or Wellington or something, because the dark earth really lends itself well to this. I don't know if you can see the paint going down, I don't know if the camera's picking it up. But well, here, get the rudder done, get the fin done, got the tail there. And I don't know if you can see that, but I don't think you can. It's really made the surface pop. Okay, you need to see it in the flesh to see the effect, and also once it's had a matte cut on it, it'll make it pop a little bit more. But I'm happy with that. I haven't done around the sides of the nose, have I? So just go in there, get in those panels there. And this is one of those effects, I've seen it done, I've seen people do it and go over the top. And you kind of end up, I mean, you can get away with it on US Navy aircraft because they spend all their life on the deck, on the sea pretty much, and the paint gets bleached and beaten, and they literally go in with like a spray gun and spray around the sides of panels with the grey colour that the aircraft should be, and in the middle of the panel it's nearly white, you know, and it's all bleached and matte and almost looks like you could rub it off with your fingers. In fact, I can show you here the effects of sun. I have... This is the rear number plate lamp off my Land Rover, and as you can see it's a piece of black plastic, and this is the underside and this is the top, And this is the underside that hasn't been affected by the sun. This is the top that's been affected by the sun, and look, I can scratch it and everything, and paint goes the same. So bear that in mind when you're doing your weathering. The paint gets destroyed by the sun, but it's just left all the time to bake. Remember, it's not like 2-pack paint with, like your car with a very durable clear coat over the top. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it at that, I think. Maybe just pick out a couple of additional panels just to really sort of break up the surface. Okay, and that's going to get you a real good looking effect, and in my opinion on something this size, 1,000,000 times better than pre-shading. Don't get me wrong, pre-shading looks great, but I saw a couple of models yesterday at that show that had been pre-shaded, and it was like they'd used jet black, gone like 1/2 inch thick around the panel, 1/2 inch wide around the panel lines, and then gone over a very light top coat, and it was just, it's not authentic. It's just not authentic. There we go. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it at that. So I'm going to let that dry off a little bit, and then we're going to do some demasking. I'm not going to allow it to dry completely, because if you demask and the paint is completely dry and there's anything that's going to lift, it will just peel. But if it's slightly wet, it won't peel it. If you like, it might just take a little edge off. So I'm going to leave that at that. Just give it an extra bit of brightening along the spine. There we go, job done. Happy with that. I think it's going to look great once it's had a matte coat and a wash on it. Okay, it's been about 10-20 minutes, so ready to start unmasking now. For unmasking, I'll use a knife, tweezers, and good old cocktail stick. You need to get under the edges, and I generally don't try and work straight away to the edge. I try and remove the middle panels first. So I'm using a cocktail stick here to pick up this tape, and then we can get under it with tweezers. In fact, the wide-ended tweezers are the better ones because they've got more area to grip. Okay, so we can just put that down there. You can see we're through to the grey paint, so we've got to be careful not to scratch it. So we just lift that tape there. And this is one of the problems now we're going to see, where we've got so many different little pieces of tape. We may end up having to do this 1,000,000 times. Now this is lucky, because what's happening now is it's all coming off together. This is good. It's good when this happens. So you can see that lovely sharp line we've got, and having the tape go back down is not good, because if there's any paint on it, it'll leave a line. So this is good. This is all coming up together. Cool. Like that a lot. So we'll get under there and lift that one off. Under there and lift that one off. There we go. I'll get one panel done, one lot of unmasking done, and then you'll see how it looks. This is the other problem, you get masking tape sticking to your fingers, it's such a pain. We can see here the marks from the tape. That's all okay, it's just going to add to the weathering. I'm not sure if they're going to come off of the... I'm not even sure what they are, they're just marks that are on there. It's probably from when I was doing the masking. So here I need to get under the corner of that tape, so I'm just going to use my cocktail stick just to lift it. Come along. and that's working well. Pulling that normally doesn't come out that easily. That's working well. You get that tape away and then pulls up the edge of that one, gives us something to grip so we don't risk doing any scratching. Again, we've got this lifted here so we can get that away. This is lifted, oops, I'm off camera I think. This is lifted here. So we can get that away. Just like so. And then we're going to get under this one here. There we go, that's good. You can always fast forward, guys, but I know that many people love watching unmasking videos. This is the problem I was talking about, these tiny little bits of tape that we use to go around these corners and stuff. They are all going to be coming off individually, I think. And I know the bit you really want to see is when I unmask the bottom, because if that paint hasn't dried properly, we're going to have a disaster. We're going to have a right mess on our hands. And that horrible noise you can hear is a Sainsbury's food delivery van with this reversing so-called siren. There we go. So we can see now we've got a lovely sharp edge on that masking, on that camouflage, and you can also see now how the blotchiness of the grey and the green is all blending in together and just making it look sort of giving you something to look at rather than just a large grey and white or grey and green palette. So there we are, we can pull that tape away from there just like that. There's going to be areas we're going to have to touch in, like here there's a soft edge there, so I'm going to have to touch that in. And what I will probably do is just tape it up again and go in with a bit of grey and just gently, very gently put it in. I'm probably going to have to do some rework on these seams around these intakes, because I wasn't over the moon with how they looked. So need to be careful not to remove the original masking that we put in during the build. And I've also had a lot of people commenting that you can use the FOD covers as your masks. Well, I don't quite understand, because I don't seem to be able to fit mine in, and I don't understand how a hard piece of plastic just slotted in could be a mask. You won't get a nice sharp edge, so I don't get that. I'll tell you what we'll do this bit here on camera as well. Come on. If I start underneath, it might be a bit easier. There we go. Be careful not to scratch this grey paint, because as I say, it's got tamiya acrylic thinners in it, and it's not very tough. It's nothing like as tough as the Mr. Hobby levelling thinners. Okay, so we'll go under here, grab the edge of that, pull it up. You can see once again we've got this lovely sharp line, which is just what we're after. Right, so I'm going to carry on and get the rest of this done, and then we'll see how it looks, and we'll see about touching it all up. Right then guys, so you want to see it, yeah? Here she is. and even if I say so myself, I think she looks great. So we've got a couple of areas to touch up. You can see here, just where my finger is, where the paint, the green paint is sort of soft on the grey. There's an area here as well. There's a little area there, there's a spot that's got through here, so that needs to be done. Just here, in that corner there. I think there was a little bit on the engine there, but I probably won't bother with that bit because it's so small. And that's it. So there's one, oh there's a bit there, 2, 3, 4, 5 little bits to do. So really happy with that. So what I need to do is let that paint dry. So I can let that paint, leave the paint to dry sort of overnight. I don't want a chance lifting it. And then what I'll do is just go around and mask it again, just in local areas. And what I'll do is this time mask the green, and I'll spray the grey over the green. Just very lightly, very thin coats, and let it build up very slowly. You can see a little area on here. I don't know if you can see that in the light. It's a little bit shinier. I think what happened when I glued the canopy, I think the glue went into the mister surfacer that was in the seam, and it made the seam reappear. So I just polished it and gave it another little coat of green paint, so it's polished underneath. That'll disappear when we put the matte coat on. But yeah, I'm really happy with how that's come out. Really, really liking it. Now, shall we go and do the underside? What I'm going to do now is get some masking tape and put some masking tape on this canopy, because when we turn it over it's going to be on the bench. So now you're going to get the pleasure of seeing me cry if all this underside paint is lifted off because the clear coat didn't dry. So let's get this unmasked. So we're looking good here. It's all looking good so far. Peel this off here. Getting behind there with the tweezers. Yeah, it's all looking okay. I'm going to take this piece off the hatch because it's Mr. Hobby tape. Come on. It's so bloody sticky, this stuff. We're looking good, guys. Looks like I'm in luck. So I don't know what happened to that door, I really don't. When I did the back of the door, which you've seen in part 16 or 17, I can't remember now. So take this tape off of here, pull the tape off the area back here. I'm not worried about scratching the top of the fin because that's going to get a coat of black paint. The fin capping is black. Just get that over there out of the way. James made a suggestion, rather than wasting kitchen paper, use cling film to protect your model, and I have done that in the past. I've also used plastic bags, the kit bags. The reason I'd put the paper towel on here was to protect this and not so it doesn't all get scratched. So now we'll see how this masking looks around here. So we can peel that one off, and then we can get under here. Let's put that way over. Oh yeah, happy with that. We can pull this off here. There we go. And then come around to here, get under this tape. God, blimey, it's so strong. Come on. So we need to start from this end because the tape is overlapped. That way. No, it's not. I'm not unmasking the actual intakes themselves yet, guys, in case I've got to do any touch-up work in there. I'm going to have a look and see how it looks. Oh, come on. Yeah. Really lucky how this is coming out. I thought this was going to be a disaster with that clear coat, but it seems okay. And there we are. There's a bit of masking tape left there. So if we look at all the leading edges of the wings, you can see how they've come out. With the camouflage going underneath. And there. And the intakes. So yeah, I need to get a little brush of green paint down in there. I've got a bit of a white patch showing through. But really, I'm so impressed that we've only got about 4 or 5 little areas to touch up. Got to paint the exhaust as well, haven't we? But I'm so lucky that this hasn't been damaged. That's, you can see that blotchiness a bit better on there now than we did when I originally did it. You can see the sort of dirty, worn look. This area here isn't painted because this is all going to be black around the nose, and the Bombay doors, if you're only just watching this video, these are just pressed in. These are the kit parts just pressed in to seal it up to paint it. But all the Bombay and the wheelbase and everything are already painted. So and here you can see, I'm glad I've got this actually in a way. Remember I said when I was masking you need to make sure you don't get any black? Well, you can see here we've got the black showing through, so we've got a mark there anyway, so I'm going to mask that and I'll repaint that grey in there to get rid of that black edge. You don't want to see that showing through. And like I just said with painting the panels in the lighter colour, you don't want to be staying in between the camouflage, because if it fades all the way across. The sun doesn't stop fading it there and there, it fades all the way across. So that's why you need to carry the fading into each colour, okay? If you can imagine, if you rubbed away at the paint and wore the paint down, it wouldn't only wear out in the middle, it would wear all the way across, okay? Unless of course it had more paint around the outside, and then it may well only wear on the middle of the panel. But happy with that. Intake on this side looks nice. Intake on this side actually looks okay now the paint is dried. So it's just obviously when it was wet it was showing it up, but I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave them like they are. So yeah, once we've clear coated it and everything, I will unmask the actual intakes themselves. So I can leave this to dry for a day and then come back to it. So we'll call that a day for part 18. Get that off, because I don't want that to start reacting with that paint. What I am going to do is work on something now that I haven't worked on for over 2 years and I forgot I had it. So I'm going to start making a video on that. So keep your eyes peeled. I don't know when it's going to appear, but it will appear sometime around this video going out, and I'll see you for that one. But I hope you like it, guys. I'm absolutely chuffed as anything with that. I should finish more kits. It's so satisfying to see this. And when it's sat on the landing gear, because I'm in the landing gear, Airfix have made such a lovely job of the landing gear. You know, you can imagine how it's going to look with that in there like that. You know, sat on its landing gear, there we go. It's going to look bloody great. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I think this has been a short one. Yeah, it's been a fairly short one. I'll see you all soon for part 19. And in part 19, I'll show you how I do this correction, and then we'll get a clear coat on there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.